So General Conference weekend just concluded for members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or the Mormon Church. For those of you who participated in this conference, I hope that you heard inspiring messages and that you felt tremendous love. Now, this was my first conference weekend since leaving the church in July. Instead of watching conference this year, I spent time with friends who know what this first post-Mormon conference feels like, and they've been fantastic. I've also been listening to the stories of dozens of ex-Mormons like myself, but many of whom were both triggered and very guarded this weekend. Many who leave the church feel judged and ostracized by church members. They then receive messages from members of their wards and families who are still in the church that invite them to come back to church with promises that God loves them and that they'll be happier if they come back. I've probably sent messages like these in the past, but as one on the other side, I can guarantee you that these messages, as well-intentioned as they are, do not work. When a member of the church invites a former member back to the church without listening to their experience, without validating their pain, because leaving one religion is always painful, it's really hurtful. Former members suddenly feel like projects rather than people, and no one wants to feel like a project. Now, I've been incredibly blessed. There have been many of my family and friends, both in and out of the church, who've reached out to me in love and asked me to share my story with them. I shared the message that I'm sharing with you now in a Facebook post earlier today, and then I even got even more support and a greater outpouring of love. I love all of these people even more for showing up for me in empathy. There are those who aren't ready to hear my story, and that's totally fine. I respect their boundaries, and I understand that they know what's best for them. I hope that they recognize that I know what's best for me too. Not every ex-Mormon is as fortunate as I am. Like I said, a lot have been ostracized and are going through an anger phase right now. Leaving the Mormon church and the loss of their identity as a member of the church causes grief. Messages from church leaders in conference targeting those who leave the fold certainly didn't help. Anger is a natural part of the grieving process. Let's grant these angry Exmos a chance to grieve. Now, if you're a member of the church and you feel prompted to reach out to a former member after today's general conference, inviting them to come back, I suggest that you practice one of my favorite of Stephen Covey's 7 Habits for Highly Effective People. It's seek first to understand and then to be understood. Covey himself was a Latter-day Saint, and the man knew what he was talking about. This habit is where empathy lives. By listening to someone else's story about why they left the church, you're showing empathy, which drives connection in the relationship. You don't need to start by telling a former member what the church teaches or what you know to be true, because people who leave the church do so after years of seeking to understand the church's beliefs. They understand enough. I believe that it's their time to be understood.